Good morning. Today is Tuesday, September 27th, 2016, and we are interviewing Jack Pascoe at the Illinois State Library. Jack is 84 years old, having been born on July 25th, 1932. My name is Helen Connect, and I will be the interviewer. Nancy McCarthy will be the court reporter for this interview. Good morning, Jack. I'm going to
Good
ask you some
morning.
questions. Could you please tell us a little about yourself? Where were you born?
I was born in East Galesburg, Illinois, and that was south of southwest of Knoxville, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And my father and grandfather worked in the coal mines, and it was where I took my showers when they got off work.
Mm-hmm.
I went down in the mine to shower with them.
Really? I've never heard of that.
Yes,
They had a shower built in the coal mine.
yes.
Wow, that's fascinating.
We didn't have showers in the houses
Mm-hmm.
then back in 32, so it was accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working for the coal mine, picking up coal that fell off the trains when they pulled away.
Oh, okay. What would you do with the coal?
I would sell it or give it to my uncle who delivered coal to people.
Fascinating. Okay. What year did you enter the service?
In 1950, I believe,
Okay.
might have been 51.
What family members did you leave behind when you went into the service?
I had 4 sisters and 2 brothers, and one brother was in the Navy, and my second brother, he joined the Air Force while I was in the service.
And what branch of the service were you in?
I was in the Army.
The Army. And were you still working for the coal mine at the time?
No,
No? Where were you working?
I was working for a House of Good Food, or no, excuse me, that was wrong. I was going to school, and when I got discharged from the service, I was working for House of Good Food,
Mm-hmm.
and it was owned by John D. McDonald from Chicago, who started the Bankers Life Insurance Company.
Okay. And what was that, a grocery store or what was?
They sold a frozen food plan.
Oh, okay.
The frozen food plan, did you say?
Yes, and they provided the freezers to keep them in, and they, of course, accepted money in the payment for the use of the freezer. And John McDonald, he owned the company when I went to work for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a little bit of everything. I collected bad debts, and I shared a lot of experiences with him and his manager, Dean Simpkins, and he's still a real insurance agent.
Is that right? Yeah. Now, were you the first in your family to join the service or?
No, my older brother joined, and
Okay.
he married a young lady from out west, Oregon,
Oh,
and he had a couple children with her, and one is a police officer, and the other one is she was quite adept to being a dancer,
Okay.
and she's, I believe, in Los Angeles.
Okay.
I haven't seen her or heard from her for 20 or 30 years.
It's a long time.
Yes.
How did your parents feel about you and your brothers joining the service?
No problems. That was our choices.
Mm-hmm.
My
Did your dad
father,
serve?
my father was never in the service. He migrated to Illinois from Ireland with his father and his two sisters.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is very fascinating. So you enlisted, you weren't drafted.
No,
Okay. And you were able to choose what branch of the service that you.
I wanted to go into the National Guard for various reasons,
Mm-hmm.
of which I wanted to continue my education and I wanted to get the military training. And I attended several meetings prior to joining the National Guard.
Okay.
And I came to Springfield on a couple of occasions just to see where the depot was. And that was at south of town back then.
Mm-hmm.
And
Now, what was that?
the depot,
Okay. What is that?
that's where they kept all the small arms and the military equipment.
Oh, okay.
And it used to be south on Toronto Road.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. When you first joined the service, how did you feel about that? Were you scared or?
No, I wasn't scared.
Mm-hmm.
I was just elated that they accepted me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was short like I am today. And everybody gave me a hard time, but I appreciated it.
Mm-hmm.
They recognized me.
Mm-hmm. Where did you go for your basic training?
At Fort Riley, Kansas.
Okay.
And I went to leadership school at Camp Funston, which is a division of Fort Riley.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a grandson there now, and he's in charge of that computer system at the hospital in Fort Riley.
Is that right? Wow. After you did your basic training, did you go right to
I
Korea?
went to Camp Cook, California,
Mm-hmm.
and then I transferred to Fort Washington,
Mm-hmm.
state of Washington, and I went up in a convoy of military vehicles, and then I was platoon sergeant for basic trainings.
Wow. And what exactly did they train you in there at basic training?
Well, when I was in leadership school in Fort Riley or Camp Funston, the general came in one day and took the moderators for the classes. He took them out and he says, "Who are you going to leave in charge?" And they said, "Pascoe." So when they came back and found the building empty, they came looking for me, and they wanted to know what I was doing in the PRI circle, practice rifle instruction circle. And I said, I know the practice rifle instructions, and I know there's a podium for calisthenics here, and I did not know what your program was at the leadership school.
Mhm.
So I wanted to get these troops acquainted with me, and I wanted to teach them something I knew, and that's calisthenics.
Mhm. How many men did you work with that?
Probably 35.
Awesome.
And then when they drove up in the general's car and got out, they came over to me and said, "What the hell are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm doing what I know." And the general said, "Well," he said, "I'm glad to see you didn't goof off." And he said, "I got a special job for you." And he took care of me.
Good. Do you remember the general's name?
No,
No?
but Hazlitt was one of the non-coms.
Mhm. Now, what is a non-com?
Non-commissioned officer.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I don't understand all the military lingo. So.
Okay,
So, um, you lived in the barracks, I assume.
yes.
Okay. What was that like?
Well, I got stabbed
Oh.
by a gentleman because he didn't think I was taking care of the furnace, fireplaces. See, we were in a long building, and they had 2 fireplaces in the middle of the building, and we kept them supplied all night long with coal to keep them warm. And the one black guy wanted to straighten me out because he wasn't warm enough.
Mhm.
So he stabbed me, and all the others ganged up on him and told him how nice I was, or they were speaking up for me.
Mhm.
And I went on to become platoon sergeant, and I went to Butte, Montana with the first sergeant and picked up AWOLs, and he and I had a good rapport.
Mhm. Well, I'm glad you survived that attack. So, what was the food and what was the food like there?
It was sea rations
Mhm.
mostly,
Not good home cooking, huh?
not good home cooking.
And were you able to get out to go out in the evening, or was that?
Oh yes,
Okay.
I had a 1929 Model A, and one of my friends from New York that I went out to see, and he passed away. He was Raymond J. Rockway, and he was a sergeant, and he and I dressed alike because he was as short as I am,
Mm-hmm.
and we danced at most of the senior living facilities back then,
Uh-huh.
and he found a girlfriend. I did not. But I tried to look him up when I went to Washington. I tried 5 people, and they were all dead,
Oh.
but they were all on the wall for the Korean monument.
Mm-hmm. They were recognized in that way.
Yep.
Okay. Now, you did serve in Korea, is that correct?
No,
No?
I had a sergeant that worked with me, and he helped me a lot, and he drove me out to Camp Cook when I first went there, and then when I went to Seattle, Washington, or Tacoma, Washington,
Mm-hmm.
he went too, and he was a good friend, and he and I were chosen to accompany the commanding officer to his business in California.
Mm-hmm. Is that where Camp Cook is located in California?
Yes. It was transferred to the Air Force, and rather than ground pounders like it was, it's now an Air Force base.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you make any close friendships while in the service?
Did I what?
Did you have any real close friendships while you were in the service?
Raymond J. Brockway and Wayne McKee. Wayne was the gentleman that had the car that drove me out to Camp Cook. And Wayne and I were close to Galesburg. I lived in Galesburg and he lived in Oneida, about 12 miles away.
Okay.
And we, along with 3 others, we shared college expenses together.
Mm-hmm. So you got to see each other after your time in
Yes.
service. Okay. Are these gentlemen still alive? Or you?
I believe they are.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest daughter was born in California, and she had a mother that took care of her, and she was outstanding for 60 years. And when she passed away, I started remembering all the things that she did for me.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was she went back into the hospital after the baby was born. And Judy is her name. Judy stayed with McKee family in Long Beach, California. And I drove her down there that night. And Mabel, Wayne's wife, put her into a dresser drawer as a hamper,
Mm-hmm.
as a cradle.
Mm-hmm. That was your granddaughter?
My daughter,
Oh, your daughter.
my
Okay.
oldest daughter,
Mm-hmm. How many children do you have?
5.
And what? How many boys? How many girls?
2 girls, 3 boys.
Nice size
Full
family.
house.
Yes. Okay. Can you tell me how your time in the service, how that affected your life later?
Oh, yes. When McKee came home because his father got his hand caught in a corn picker,
Mm-hmm.
and he came home on leave to take the crop in. I come home with him, and I told him I owed him a lot, and so I helped him get the crop in. And then I went to work and started college with 4 other veterans, and Wayne was one of them for a time, and then he went to work for the Farm Bureau as a crop analyst, and he was insuring crop losses.
They're in Galesburg?
No, in Macomb
Oh, Macomb. Okay.
when I was going to college.
Mm-hmm.
And we all lived in a house in Colchester.
Okay. And did you learn any valuable lessons while you were in the military?
Oh, yes. I learned how to drive a truck and a tractor and a half track,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned how to deal with people.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very educational.
Oh, I bet, because you've got people coming in from all over in military.
And I stood up for a young man from Hawaii when he got married, and I'll never go through a grand ceremony like that again. I don't like stand up, sit down, kneel,
Mhm.
stand up, pray, stand up, sit down. It's just not for me.
A lot of that going on.
A lot of that.
So you said you learned to drive a truck and a tractor while in the service.
And I drove the general's Jeep for a while, and I led the troops through the conference course,
Mhm.
which is the job that he gave me. And he said, I don't yet understand how you can get up the tree, because they put trees and they took trees and made them crossways between two other trees, and I couldn't reach them. So I climbed up one of the trees on the end
Oh.
that was holding it up.
Mhm.
And he says, you showed a little skill getting around, so I want you to take over and train these guys to do it on their own.
Mhm.
And he says, whatever you do, lead them through the confidence course. And I did that for probably 6-8 times a day.
Wow. How many people did you instruct on that?
I don't know,
A lot.
no idea,
Mhm.
but I enjoyed it,
Mhm.
and it gave me confidence that the general had in me.
Yeah.
And what his name was, I still can't tell you.
Mhm. That's fascinating. Um, Now, at that time, the Korean War was going on. Did that?
I came home on leave with Wayne to bring in the crop, and I had an attack of appendicitis, and they put me in to Chanute Air Force Hospital because that was the closest one to Galesburg.
Mm-hmm.
And I missed the ship to Korea.
Oh.
So then they took me back to Washington.
And that's where you stayed then? Yeah.
I got discharged in Tacoma, Washington.
Okay. Were you out very long with the appendicitis?
No.
No.
But Fort Lewis was the name of the camp in Tacoma, or outside Tacoma.
Mm-hmm. In Washington?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Which might be important.
Mm-hmm. Did with the war going on, how did you feel about the war?
I didn't have any feelings about it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to take my time that I wasn't pulling duty to go dance or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, I had a friend from Galesburg. He went and married a young lady, and he moved to Tacoma, Washington. And he called me one day and told me that he was living out there and to come over and eat with him and Sammy. And they did so much for me, and they helped me learn how to go to hockey games and enjoy it.
Sounds like some great friends.
Yes.
Have you ever been thanked for your time in the service?
Yes, numerous times.
Do you wear the little military hat at the facility where you stay?
Well, sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And that helps people to know then that you're a veteran.
We have a Pies and Lies at Evergreen, and it's a meeting of veterans every month, and we share all our Pies and Lies stories.
Okay, explain pies and lies. It sounds fascinating.
We have pie and coffee and different stories are presented by the members.
Mhm. That sounds fascinating.
And we get more people from the outside than from the nursing home or
Mhm.
supportive living home.
Mhm. That's neat. Now, can
And
you?
the lady that drove the bus to bring us up here,
Mhm.
she's the one that puts that on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful idea.
And she took it from somebody else that was her predecessor.
Mhm.
And that lady is a friend of mine too.
Do you enjoy going to the Pies and Lies?
Yes,
Are there quite a few who participate in that?
probably 6 or 8,
Mhm.
and probably about 12 from the outside.
Mhm. Do we get to hear some pretty good stories then, I assume?
Yes.
Good.
And one gentleman, he was with the Air Force, and he's been fortunate enough to honor us with passes to the model airplanes that people wrap $6,000 and $10,000
Mhm.
in, and they're remote controlled, but they're minimal size.
Mhm. And you guys get to watch them fly and stuff?
Yes.
I bet that would be interesting to see.
Well, my one son from Branson wanted to come up this year to see it, and so he scheduled his work so that he could come up, and then we got rained out all 4 days of the activity.
Mhm. The weather, I tell you.
Yes.
Do you have any certain story that you would like to share that really stands out in your mind?
Just one. My first sergeant took me with him to pick up some AWOLs in Butte, Montana,
Mm-hmm.
and his name was Topolowski, and he was from down south somewhere. I don't know where he was
Mm-hmm.
from. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I stopped a couple places and had a brew, and I danced with a girl, a lady, and the owner said he was going to throw me out because she was dancing with her bare feet so that I could be her height.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Topolowski said, "You're going to have to throw me out first."
So did you guys get tossed out?
No,
Nope.
no,
Do you remember the song you were dancing to?
no, I don't.
Do you have any particular songs that you remember from that time frame?
No, but I remember bumping heads with Cesar Romero in California.
Really?
And
How'd you do that?
the waitress dropped some silverware, and I bent over to pick him up, and Cesar Romero would come out of the next booth and bump heads with me. And Bob Hope, that's another story.
Oh, would you like to share that?
Bob Hope, he had some free passes that he wanted to present to people that went to his shows. And he said, "I'm going to ask one of you servicemen to come up and draw names." And he called on me, and he pointed me out, and I told him if I draw, I'm going to draw my own. And he says, "You can't do that." I said, "I can if I don't know it. And he said, okay, come on up here. So I got up on stage with Bob Hope and I drew my own name. He said he had to tell people about that. I said, you tell people, and I'll tell people.
Oh, now, this was in California where this happened.
Yes,
And then you got to go see the show.
yes.
What other entertainers were there?
I can't tell you.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Las Vegas to shows, my wife and I. She was an artist.
Mm-hmm.
We traveled a lot.
Did you meet your wife while in the service?
No.
No, it was afterwards.
After, when I was going to college, 5 friends and I were going to college together. And we went back to Galesburg to watch the parade. And this is another story.
I'm enjoying your stories.
Well, Bud Holloway, James Neil Holloway, was the instigator. He said, let's go back to the Christmas parade in Galesburg and watch the Christmas parade. So we were there watching the parade and we got cold. So we went in this bar next door across the street to get warm. His mother was in there with a couple of girls from Chicago, and one of them had been married, had been promised to her daughter, and he got killed. So her daughter was still living in girls' club in Chicago. Well, her roommate happened to be my wife. So that was
She
another
introduced
story.
you to her.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long were you married for?
60 years.
It's a long time.
Yep.
And you produced 5 beautiful children. Yeah.
And she was an artist, self-taught.
Mm-hmm.
You ever heard of Maraguchi or Eiergritzel?
No, I'm sorry I haven't.
That's egg carving in German or Czechoslovakian.
And she would do the artwork on those.
And she was on television in Chicago, New Orleans, all over the world.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a very talented lady.
And she taught herself to use the melodica, organs,
Mm-hmm.
piano, everything.
Mm-hmm.
She could teach herself.
That's nice.
And she was an artist. She had 5 galleries, and we traveled for several years, just the 2 of us. And when she couldn't get me to leave my business to go with her, she took one of the kids.
Mm-hmm. Now, you had mentioned earlier to me that you were the mayor of Galesburg? Macomb.
No, Carlinville.
Carlinville, okay. All right. And you served 2 terms?
I resigned after this, before the completion of 2nd term.
Do you think any of your military experience helped you with that?
Very much so.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like you were a great leader while you were in the
I
service.
knocked on every door in town twice to get elected,
Is that right?
and I made some good friends.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them, he passed away. He had a monster house.
Mm-hmm.
It was a mansion.
Wow.
He bought all the Grand Champion steers from the fair out here.
Mm-hmm.
for a number of years. And when I went to him to help me get elected, he said, "I'll take care of it." And I said, "No, thank you. I want the people to vote me in."
That's good. That's good. Do you have any other last comments you would like to share with us about the service?
No, another story.
I'm all ears.
I got on the train when I got discharged and went from Washington back to Galesburg, and a young lady and I were friends on the train, and she says, "Let's go to the club car." And I said, "Okay, but I'm short." And she says, "That's all right, I'll take off my high heels." She was 5'11",
Oh,
but I didn't know it.
oh,
I'm 5'1/4".
that's neat.
But we had an interesting trip
Mm-hmm.
because every time we walked, the car lanked. Everybody roared.
Oh, that's an interesting story. So, well, I'd like to thank you for your service, and
That's not necessary.
well, we
It was
appreciate
an honor.
we greatly appreciate all that you've done for our country and helping to keep us safe and you know.
I've got to tell you about my son,
Oh, sure.
Butch, my youngest son. He knew how I felt and that I wanted to go out to Washington and see the honor bestowed on all the people that got killed.
Mm-hmm.
So when my wife was living and I was in Carlinville, she offered to come and get me or take me to the airport. And I said, "No, it's too much for you." So he kept all this information on his own. And after my wife passed away, he says, "I signed you up to go on the honor flight." And he says, "I'm your escort." And that touched me so much.
I bet that was an amazing day to go out there.
It was,
Did a lot of veterans go that day as well?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
The plane was full, and several of them were from a long way from Springfield. And I had shared some stories with a couple of them. And one of them, his father owned the roller rink, and he's now the sheriff of the county.
Wow. Were there a lot of other Korean veterans?
Yes.
Okay. And did you get to see the Korean monument?
Yes, we did.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw the changing of the guard,
Mm-hmm.
and that's quite a ceremony.
Yeah. Did you have people greeting you when you arrived back?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
My granddaughter wanted to come, but she couldn't. So she sent her daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and they were all out there at the airport. And my son said, "Did you know you shook hands with the governor?" I said, "That's not the first time."
So apparently this was just a recent trip then,
Yeah, it was last year.
last year. I'm glad you got to do that.
It was very interesting, and we enjoyed the Space Museum very much so.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can relate to my daughters and granddaughters being out there.
Mm-hmm. That's neat. Well, Jack, I do appreciate you taking the time to talk with us.
It's my pleasure.
I've enjoyed it immensely. We've shared some wonderful stories, and once again, thank you so much for your service and for
Thank you again.
being there for our country. Greatly appreciated.
It was an honor to serve, and I'm still continuing to serve
Mm-hmm.
whenever I can
Uh-huh.
or wherever.
Right. Well, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.